It's Wednesday, March 25th, 2026. Iran gives us a big present, an absolutely genius idea from Senate Republicans, and no selling out in Kentucky. Next on the AM Update. President Trump had these curious remarks yesterday at the White House, saying ongoing negotiations with Tehran and Washington are going very well.
Because they're going to make a deal. They're going to make a deal. They did something yesterday that was amazing, actually. They gave us a present, and the present arrived today. And it was a very big present worth a tremendous amount of money. And I'm not going to tell you what that present is, but it was a very significant prize. And they gave it to us, and they said they were going to give it, so that meant one thing to me: we're dealing with the right people.
Is that nuclear related?
No, it wasn't nuclear related. It was oil and gas related.
I have no idea what on earth President Trump is talking about there, saying Iran yesterday, that would have been Monday, gave the United States a big present. I can't say what it is exactly, a tremendous amount of money. It was a very big present, tells me that we're dealing with the right people. It's oil and gas related. Have no idea. I can't even begin to speculate what that present supposedly might be. President Trump also says the war is already won.
We've won this. This war has been won. The only one that likes to keep it going is the fake news. I mean, the New York Times. You read the New York Times, it's like we're not winning a war where they have no Navy and they have no Air Force and they have no nothing. And we literally have planes flying over Tehran and other parts of their country. They can't do a thing about it. For instance, if I want to take down that power plant, that very big, powerful power plant, they can't do a thing about it. It's like, take me. That's all they can do. And yet, if you read the New York Times or if you watch ABC fake news or NBC fake news, you'd say it's a close battle.
President Trump knocking the media and saying the war is already won. Made those comments during the swearing-in ceremony for new DHS Secretary Markwayne Mullin at the White House.
Solemnly swear.
Markwayne Mullin.
That I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States.
That I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States.
Mullin won his nomination and his confirmation with, I believe, 53 votes in the Senate, where Republicans there have just a tremendous, genius idea, as it's being reported, to end the DHS shutdown over Immigration and Customs Enforcement, which somehow only actually impacts TSA for reasons. It's being reported that a group of Republican senators went to the White House earlier this week, presented an idea to the White House about a path forward. Basically, the path is this. As it's being reported, who knows what's real and what's not. Alabama Senator Katie Britt, the Republican from Deep Red, Alabama, is being attributed as being maybe some of the mastermind behind this plan. It's basically, we're going to fund the Department of Homeland Security, except for immigration enforcement. We're not going to do that. We're going to give the Democrats what they want, and then we'll come back and we'll fund ICE through reconciliation. We pinky promise we'll do that. Just a genius idea. Give the Democrats everything they want and then promise the White House, yes, we'll get back to what you were actually elected to do, deportations and immigration enforcement. We'll make sure that's funded in the reconciliation bill, or in a reconciliation bill as of yet unnamed. I thought we funded ICE to the tune of like a branch of the military back last year during the big, beautiful bill. Just earlier this week, however, President Trump warned Senate Republicans, don't make a deal with Democrats. Make them vote for the Save America Act, which, of course, isn't even being discussed right now by the Senate.
The appalling lines and massive disruptions at major airports nationwide last weekend, I am again demanding that Democrats in Congress immediately end their disgraceful shutdown of the Department of Homeland Security and restore the full funding for airport security and the TSA. They are holding it up because they want to take care of illegal immigrants coming into our country. They want to take care of criminals that are in sanctuary cities. They want to take care of transgender for everybody, literally the mutilization of our children, men in women's sports. But what they don't want to do is give us anything to do with citizenship for voting or voter ID. Can you imagine? We're the only country that doesn't do voter ID. Every country does voter ID. You know, brought to my attention today that we're the only country that does mail-in voting. Mail-in voting means mail-in cheating. I call it mail-in cheating. And we got to do something about it all. And it's part of Homeland Security. And I'm suggesting strongly to the Republican Party, don't make any deal on anything. The most important thing we can have is what's called the Save America Act.
So there's President Trump telling Republicans, especially those in the Senate, don't make a deal with the Democrats. Sounds like Republicans aren't listening. That aforementioned deal invoked the ire of Rick Scott, the Republican senator from Florida, saying that the supposed deal being attributed to Katie Britt and others to defund ICE in exchange for funding of ICE later through reconciliation. It just doesn't make any sense. Here is Rick Scott on CNBC yesterday.
We have, you don't have a monitor, but right below you it says senators near deal to end shutdown. Yesterday, the word was that President Trump rejected the deal to end the shutdown, which would have funded, I think it's the same as what we're talking about today, funded everything else, TSA and DHS, everything but ICE. And apparently it's in the works and it's going to happen. Is it?
Well, we'll see. We'll see if it happens. I mean, does it make any sense to you that the people that are getting rid of the criminals that are killing women in our country, they're not going to get funded in this bill? And the Democrats have said they want to use this as an opportunity to get amnesty.
Yeah, that
it makes no
notwithstanding.
sense.
That's absolutely right from Senator Rick Scott, and I don't trust Senate Republicans as far as I can throw them, especially the ones behind this supposed deal. And most of the time, Rick Scott would actually be in that group, although I think he's more loyal to the White House than the baseline Republican senator. Speaking of those who wish to protect illegal aliens rather than, citizens of the United States, we hear once again from House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries.
An illegal immigrant has been charged with murdering a college student in Chicago last week. Do House Democrats believe if he's convicted, he's someone who should be deported?
I'll look into the case.
So there's Hakeem Jeffries saying he has not heard anything about Laken Riley 2.0, that poor 18-year-old college student in Chicago who was just senselessly really executed by an illegal alien from Venezuela. And again, it just goes to show, as President Trump pointed out yesterday, yet again, this party, this frickin' party, has anything higher on their priority list than, protecting United States citizens.
Democrats in Congress do not care how much American blood they shed in their demented pursuit of open borders. From Sheridan Gorman to Jocelyn Nungary and Laken Riley, their quest to flood our country with illegal aliens has left countless American victims in its wake. They never changed. They see what's happening. They never change. That's what they want.
That's what they want. And how could you come to a different conclusion than that? Good on President Trump for saying the name Sheridan Gorman, the most recent victim of senseless and preventable crimes. Border Patrol Chief Greg Bovino announced his retirement recently. He was the one in charge of the Operation Metro Surge in the Twin Cities. He talked to the New York Times, saying in passing, quote, "I wish I'd caught even more illegal aliens. We went as hard as we could." That's a real one right there. And yeah, he was gruff. He was a tough one. But he was serious about the job. Going back to the long lines at TSA, here is Chuck Schumer just earlier this week warning about the consequences of sending Immigration and Customs Enforcement to help speed up the lines at those airports.
Everywhere ICE goes, trouble follows. We've seen that. And it is highly likely the airports will be no exception. No one trusts that ICE is going to make things better.
Once again, ICE agents have arrived here in Philadelphia, but I do want to point out, this is an empty line right now. We are standing in the middle where travelers come to check in for TSA. Yesterday, this was all the way back to the garage. So good news today, lines aren't too bad.
Chuck Schumer saying trouble goes wherever ICE goes. Cut to local news report in Philadelphia. Yeah, the line is gone. Back to you. When we come back, we get some international news. A hostage freed in the Middle East. Also, we're not selling out in Kentucky. Talk about all that and more coming up next. International news: an American hostage has been released by the Taliban after more than a year in custody. Fox News reported this week that Dennis Coyle, an American academic who spent nearly 2 decades in Afghanistan before being detained by the Taliban without charges, has finally been released after more than a year in near solitary confinement. Coyle, the 64-year-old, was taken from his home in Kabul in January of 2025. Special Envoy for Hostage Affairs Adam Bowler said in a statement, quote, "The United States welcomes the release of American citizen Dennis Coyle, who was wrongfully detained in Afghanistan for more than a year." Earlier this month, Secretary of State Marco Rubio designated Afghanistan as a state sponsor of wrongful detention, writing on social media, quote, "The Taliban continue to use terroristic tactics to seek policy concessions, but it won't work under this administration. The Taliban must release Dennis Coyle, Mahmoud Habibi, and all Americans unjustly detained in Afghanistan." On Tuesday, Rubio celebrated Coyle's release as, quote, "a positive step towards ending the practice of hostage diplomacy." Rubio also said on social media, quote, "I met Molly, Amy, and Patty as they asked for help freeing their brother Dennis Coyle from detention in Afghanistan. Today, Dennis is on his way home." Coyle's family told Fox News that Coyle had been working legally as an academic researcher to support language communities in Afghanistan. He was seized on January 27th, 2025, just days after another American, Ryan Corbett, was released at the start of President Trump's second term. Afghanistan's Ministry of Foreign Affairs announced Coyle's release on social media, saying, quote, "The release has further strengthened the atmosphere of trust between the two countries. Likewise, it expresses the hope that both countries will, in the future, find ways to resolve the remaining issues through mutual understanding and constructive dialogue." So a hostage released from Afghanistan. You wonder what changed? I have a few ideas back at home. We go to Mason County, Kentucky, where one woman and her mother tell WLEX-TV they are not selling out. Listen to this.
If it's my way, I'll stay and hold and feed a nation. 26 million doesn't mean anything.
Some people might find it hard to understand how Delcia Bear can turn away a $26 million offer to buy some of her land until you spend a little time with her walking the dirt road she grew up on and in the house her daddy built.
My grandfather and great-grandfather and a whole bunch of family has all lived here for years, paid taxes on it, fed a nation off of it, even raised wheat through the Depression and kept the bread lines up in the United States of America when people didn't have anything else.
Delcia is one of dozens of landowners approached by an anonymous buyer, one of the major players in artificial intelligence, likely Google or Meta or Amazon, to purchase their land. The market value for land in Mason County is about $6,000 an acre. The realtor that came to her door last April offered her and her mother about 10 times that.
They call us old stupid farmers, but we're not. We know whenever our food is disappearing, our lands are disappearing, and we don't have any water and poison, we know we've had it.
Delcia's mom, Ida Huddleston, is now 82 years old. She says she does not need the money or the hassle. She was born on this land and she plans to die here, and she certainly does not trust the promises made by the AI companies or the people who want them to build here.
So what do you say to the people who are in town that say, hey, this is going to bring jobs, this is going to bring economic prosperity?
I say they're a liar and the truth ain't in them. Is what I say. It's a scam.
For Delcia, scam or not, she says she's connected to her home like Scarlett O'Hara was in Gone with the Wind.
As long as she was attached to that land, her spirit never would die. And that's the exact same thing for me right here. As long as I'm on this land, as long as it's feeding me, as long as it's taking care of me, there's nothing that can destroy me if I've got this land.
That report courtesy of WLEX-TV in Lexington. Now, you might think, and this was my first thing as well, hey, good for them, but also these companies waving around $26 million for a spit of land that's worth maybe less than 10 times that amount, or 10 times less than that amount, I should say. They're just going to find somebody else. But you listen to the spirit that's espoused there, and I think the spirit is, so be it. Doesn't matter. It's our land. We get to say what happens to it until we don't anymore. So good on that family. Let's end with this. Saw this clip pop up randomly in my For You feed on X. It's the great atheist, well-known atheist, Christopher Hitchens, back in, probably would have been the early 2000s, discussing Islam on a panel. Listen to this and apply it to everything you've seen over the past quarter century.
In 1788, when the United States was barely a country, it was having its sailors taken as slaves by the Barbary states, the states of the Ottoman Empire in North Africa.
Tripoli.
Shores of Tripoli. Ships stopped. Its crews carried off into slavery. We estimate 1.5 million European and American slaves taken between 1750 and 1815. Jefferson and Adams went to their ambassador in London and said, why do you do this to us? The United States has never had a quarrel with the Muslim world of any kind. We weren't in the Crusades. We weren't in the war in Spain. Why do you do this to our people and our ships? Why do you plunder and enslave our people? And the ambassador said very plainly, Mr. Abdul Rahman said, because the Quran gives us permission to do so, because you are infidels. And that's our answer. And Jefferson said, well, in that case, I will send a navy which will crush your state, which he did. Islamic fundamentalism is not created by American democracy. It's a lie to say so. It's a masochistic lie. And it excuses those who are the real criminals, and it blames us for the attacks made upon
Christopher Hitchens, probably 25 plus years ago, saying those things about Islam. And one of the, if not the, I believe it is the very first conflict that the United States fought outside of its own borders. The shores of Tripoli, the Barbary Coast pirates. This is what Islam is. Now, that's different from saying that's what every single Muslim is. But that is what Islam is. It originated in the 7th century. Less than about 20 years later, they were already fighting, subjugating. Less than 30 years later, after Muhammad went into that cave and spoke to a demon, they were already beheading Jews, a Jewish tribe, and enslaving their wives and children. This is what Islam has always been and always will be, which is why the choice before us now, as you see the proliferation of Islam deep into Europe, trying to get deeper into America, Texas, anyone, this is why the choice for all of us, especially non-believers in the God of the Bible, the choice is convert or die. I'm not giving that to you as a Christian. The Islamists are giving you that choice. Islam will subjugate and it will kill and destroy everything that is given to them. It will. You do not want Islam. Islam will not leave you alone. So you will either convert to Christianity or you will die. Again, that is not a prescriptive statement. That's a descriptive statement. And that's not something that I'm saying as a believer. I want you to know your Savior. I do. I want you to come to saving faith in Jesus Christ. I do. I don't want to force you, subjugate you into that. But Islam, throughout its entire history, has really given you that choice. Because the only bastions where history has shown Islam cannot penetrate are the bastions where Christianity is the strongest. Just something to think about this morning. That's going to do it for Wednesday. Back at it again tomorrow. I'm Aaron McIntyre, and this is the AM Update.